And here we are. I'm just experimenting on two problems. One was how to stop your fish cooking in summer, and how to simply clear the water of your fish bowl. Well, first of all, we had a problem last week where it was 42 degrees, and this of course was the result where we lost quite a few little fishies. This aquarium is only using very small fish. That dead one on the left is the largest. It's only a 3 centimetre one. Also have a blackmore inside. Well, anyway, we got to 42 degrees the other day and lost all those fish. Not too good, but anyway, I restocked again, and within 24 hours I had the solution all in and going. The best way was to use that off YouTube, the idea of using evaporation to do the simplest way of cooling. I achieved a 7-degree reduction in temperature using a simple heater fan, set on fan, and to get it directed down to the water I simply used 100mm ducting to blow it over the surface, and that's worked magically. Going on to the other I mentioned was that we had murky water. It sort of looked a bit like this. Within 24 hours the water is as we see. I only started this cleaning process that I did a couple of days ago, and it's got down to this where I can actually read all the way through the other side of the water to anything behind there, nice and clear, and I can actually see all the fish that's any more than 2 centimetres away from the glass. So we're achieving this very nicely. Now this was done without a filter. The filter of a simple design is what I used, where I put together some ideas I've been having lately. A way of pushing water from the aquarium across into a separate container to filter back clean water. Overall, let's have a look at what we got. We have the aquarium, we have a bucket which now is going very dark and green, and I've had some water outside of this to see that it actually is dark and green. It's actually throwing all the dirt out of the tank. There's no filter pads or sponges or gravel, nothing. Purely just the action of one device that I added to the aquarium tank, the bowl. If we can see it, I've actually used a 1-inch wide or diameter siphon used for cleaning the gravel with. So if you hear that little gurgling there, every 8 seconds I've got about 4 or 5 cc's of water being lifted via the bubbles through the hose, which has a continuously running water air flow. It's going to not do it now that I'm looking at it. I have this continuous flow of bubbles and air and water flowing over and around, eventually drops out through this 1 centimetre pipe. Now, this is using the basic principle of the bubbles of air slowly fill up the siphon tube, the levels going down. While it's doing that, it's also pushing bubbles of water up while it's doing that. But then when it surges, when the buoyancy of the bubble of the air pocket is enough, it blows all the rest of the water out of the tube and into the bucket. So we've got these two devices here, the bucket and the aquarium, both, even though they're at different levels, we have the levels of course at the same height, because whatever water is being pumped across through the large diameter tube into the bucket is now being equalised with a very small diameter air tube, which puts the water back into here. What's coming back is all nice and clean. If we were to see the bottom of the bucket, it is a very dark sludge built up even less than 2 days ago it started. I've also got some plants in here too to help keep everything healthy. but overall it's been quite successful in that I can actually see stones now, and I can actually count the fish, which was impossible the other day. So all good. I might even try applying this to the outside fish pond. I might have to use a third bucket to get my level equations fixed up. There's no water pumping, it's all done through air, just like when you have an under gravel pump. And he said there's no under gravel pump, it's purely using this slow build up of water being pushed across, hardly any pressure involved, any back pressure. The only technicality is getting the relative flow rates correct between what air is available from the normal pump to the aerators down the bottom. Have some left over for the pump, keep increasing the pump pressure until the point where the aeration stops, back it off a little bit. And as a result of doing that, it's just by a pure fluke, looking at the airflow, we have the lowering of the level in the air pocket is just right. If you do too much, it stops the aeration. If you do not enough, you get a simple pop, 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 pop of little bubbles flying up through the siphon, which still does pump water, but not as much. It's this sudden action every 8 seconds or so that in itself it's really achieving the cleaning of the water at the lower levels, including any food that's left over, although the Blackmore usually looks after all that. Anyway, the result is exactly what I was hoping for, using a non-gravel, non-foam, non-chemical process, just using air bubbles between 2 different containers. So all good. Bye for now. Here we are, it's a couple of days later. You'll hear the pump, the occasional surge of the filter being pushed, the water being pushed up through the filter tube into the bucket. And the result is very clear water. The water that's being thrown across here at every 8 seconds or so is of course coming back via the balancing tube, the very small air tube here from the bucket. Plants are growing well, nice long roots now. And the return tube, which you might think of as like an effluent tube, you might not see it now, but the little fishies are going to the end of that little white tube where it finishes, right down the centre of the picture, with occasional bit of lichen that might come out of that tube from the green bucket. It's very minute, but overall the water is really nice and clear. And they're all very happy. It looks milky from the outside, but that's just the effect of the fishbowl out in the garage light, and I have to clean the glass anyway. But you saw how clear it was. Can't get better than that. The plan is to, at the moment, just surge out the water out of the filtering bucket when I do a water change. Maybe I might try every week. And I'll just use my little siphon tube to go into my effluent receiver for the garden. So it's still a win-win situation. Those plants are really taking off compared to when I put them in. The air blower, the air blower is timed to just go on and off every hour. It's doing the evaporation trick really nicely to keep the whole thing nice and cool. It's having a bit of rest at the moment. And probably can say bye for now.